Hi, in this video I will talk about closing journals. Closing journals in Oracle General Ledger Cloud. I will talk about the concept, the process, and we can do it like as practice to show you how to do it. So let's start. Overview of closing journals. Closing journals means income statement journals and balance sheet. For create income statement closing journals, it will post all of the income statement account balance to one or more retained earning accounts. Use the create balance sheet closing journals or income statement. It's as optionally, it's not required. Optionally means it's option. You can create these journals from scheduled process by the end of the year or not, because by default the system do it. Again, it's optional, it's not required. Some cases account manager, finance manager, whatever needs to check or to see the income statement closing journals and the balance sheet closing journals before opening the next fiscal year. So again, it's optional. For the create income statement, it posts all income statement account, which is expenses and revenues, to the retained earning account. Retained earning account, you already put it in specify ledger. There is one field for retained earnings account. The other one here is create balance sheet closing journals. It will post all assets, liability, equity, balance to one or more closing account. So as you know that we have to the concept of our report or whatever, or we have in our chart of accounts assets, liabilities, owner equity, and expenses and revenue. So one of them for income statement journals, which is for expenses and revenue. The other one which is balance sheet for the others, which is assets, liability, and equity. Both processes automatically create a separate closing or retained earning account for each balancing segment value, primary, secondary, and third. In case of you have or you use these three of value sets, so both processes of income statement and the balance sheet will create a separate closing for each of one of them. One for primary balancing segment, one for second balancing segment, one for third balancing segment. Let's start how closing journals for balance sheets accounted are created. Before we're talking about the process, you can use the create balance sheet closing journals to meet audit requirement. The process will create a journal entries that close the balances for the selected balances sheet accounts to 0. Adjusting period are recommended to avoid large balance fluctuations in your standard accounting periods. So it's recommended to run this process, two processes, closing journal for balance sheet, closing journals for income statements in the adjusting period, which is the last period of your fiscal calendar. The process of closing journal for balance sheet is generate journals that reverse the debit and the credit of the ending year to date actual balance for the selected account and period or year that you have selected to close. It reverse means debit and credit of your balance sheet. Balance sheet means assets, liabilities, and owner equity. Transfer the balance, which is the net of the reversed assets, liability, and equity, to the closing account. This closing account you can specify during running this process or this schedule process, which we will see it later. Must run in an open period. Again, recommended period is the last period of your fiscal year, which should be adjusting period. Why? To avoid large balance fluctuations in your standard accounting periods. After running the create balance closing or create balance sheet closing journals process in the last day of your fiscal year adjustment, you have to do two things. Open the first period of the next fiscal year by running the open period process, and reverse and post the balance sheet closing journals to repopulate the balance sheets accounts. The second one is closing journals for income statement. Income statement means expenses and revenue. Close to or moves the balance or the net balance between expenses and revenues to the retained earning account. This is account at the end of the accounting year, which you already specified at ledger or specify ledger configuration. Again, use create income statement closing journals to meet audit requirement. The process create a journal entries that shows the selected revenue and expenses account balances moved to the retained earning accounts. If you run the process for the first period of fiscal years, it closes only the period balance. The best practice is to run the process in the last period of the fiscal year to create an auditable journal entry. Again, the process will create these journals, create an audit trial to showing how the amount of closing, which is retained accounting, is calculated, can be run in any open period, close the year-to-date balances of the selected income statements if you run this at the end of your fiscal year. You can optionally use an income offset account, which results in individual income statement account balances remaining in their accounts. The process will book the inverse balance of closing, which is retained earning account, to the offset account. Again, during run this process, you can specify the retained earning account, which will be the system will move the expenses and revenues to this account which you specified during run this process. What happens if I change the retained earning account? We will talk about this later. Now just we can go to our Oracle to run these two processes. Just go to schedule processes, monitor process, just schedule new process, create closing journals. Again, before running the process, that you have to set up the last day of your fiscal year as an adjusting period. You have to set up the first day of your next fiscal year as an adjusting period also. Ensure that the adjusting period is open. Complete and post all adjustments related to the period or year you're closing. Print your general ledger, trial balance, and other end of month or end of year reports. So this is the required before closing or create income statement closing journals. Okay, and select the parameters. Here you have to select which data access set, ledger set, and period, which is last period of your fiscal year. This fiscal year or this period, it's like adjustment period. If you don't have adjustment period, so it must be like a December. Here account filter, you can specify which account for assets and liability and owner equity. As you know that you can add a field like select the account, and after that you have to either equal or between or contains or whatever, else the system will take all of the assets, all of the owner equity, all of the liability, and change the reverse debit and the credits, moving to this closing account. This closing account is required. It means that the system will move all of the account or move the balances of all of account of assets and liabilities and owner equities to this account. Just I need to select, I can select any account, for example this 1020201000. Here income offset account, again if you need the offset of this account or not, and the category here by default is income statement close. After that you have to submit. Before you submitting, just ensure that this is open period. Submitted, just check the status. It succeeded. Succeeded means you can go to now or navigate to the manage journals to check the journals. Let me navigate. I just navigate to the journals, general accounting and journals. Select the scope of your ledger and manage journals, and select the accounting period, which is a last period like adjustment period. This is the same period you already passes in the parameter during create the closing journals. Just click on search